Dragon's Teeth, the next DLC for Battlefield 4, is not far away now, just under a month I believe. We haven't actually had a confirmed date, but we know it's definitely coming out in sometime in early June. And there's a lot of hopes resting on this DLC. We know that with Naval Strike there were some massive improvements to the game, and on the next generation of consoles we've finally seen a near enough fix for the rubber banding and lag issues that have been plaguing those versions of the game. So we could finally be seeing a DLC release that people may actually enjoy as a whole, as the community. Now, Naval Strike went a long way to improving a lot of my thoughts to Battlefield 4. No offence to the developers, but China Rising really just wasn't a very good DLC. It was very lackluster to say the least. And I think Second Assault was just a little bit of a cop-out. In my opinion, that should have probably been where Dragon's Teeth is in terms of the DLC releases. I could have waited longer to return to Metro, to be perfectly honest. But what is Dragon's Teeth actually going to be like? If we cast our minds back to the Battlefield 4 Premium trailer that came out in the lead up to Battlefield 4's release, you'll remember that Dragon's Teeth was described as all-out urban warfare. Now, I can only make a comparison to Battlefield 3's Aftermath DLC here, which conveniently was placed in the same timescale as Dragon's Teeth is. It's the 4th DLC to be released for Battlefield 4. And you may also remember that Aftermath was probably one of the most highly regarded DLCs available for Battlefield 3. Very closely tied with Close Quarters, which drew in a lot of people that liked Close Quarters combat. Aftermath offered probably the best conquest maps in the game. The urban combat was really well laid out. It suited to vehicle gameplay just as much as it did infantry gameplay. There were certain areas of the map that infantry could only get to that weren't accessible for vehicles. There was a really good balance in those maps, and I'm really hoping that with the Dragon's Teeth DLC we could be seeing a repeat of that available in Battlefield 4. Now, I personally really enjoy infantry only combat. It's one of the things that I really like about Battlefield, because the way the maps are balanced, at least in Battlefield 4 on some of the maps, it seems to work really well. And now, we know there's been a lot of problems with the netcode, but we're getting past those now. We're seeing improvements every day for Battlefield 4. And I think that Dragon's Teeth could probably become one of the best DLCs for Battlefield 4. A lot of the players in the Battlefield community right now prefer infantry combat. And I say that with bated breath, knowing that in the comment section somebody is just going to shout me down saying that they're a level 120 in their jet. I'm sorry, just forgive me. It's pretty much a proven fact that there are more people playing Battlefield now that prefer infantry combat than there was before who preferred vehicle combat. It's just the way the game is now. The crowd were attracted with Battlefield 3, and infantry style gameplay is something that is really popular in Battlefield now. And having said that, this is why I think the Dragon's Teeth DLC is going to be massively popular. If we see something along the lines of Aftermath, something like the scavenger mode returning, because we know there's going to be a new game mode involved as well. Maybe not a new game mode, maybe we'll see Scavenger from Battlefield 3, who knows. But if that kind of setup comes the same way in Battlefield 4, once again we're at the perfect time of the game cycle at the moment where a lot of the bugs have been fixed. We could be seeing probably the best DLC that's going to be released for Battlefield 4 on our hands in just a month's time. Think of the maps that were available in the Aftermath DLC. We had Azadi Palace, which was amazing. There were some very good infantry only, well, infantry plus the modified civilian vehicle areas of the map. You could indeed get those up there if you really wanted to. But that part of the map was really good because you simply had to rely on the fact that there were only going to be infantry in there. So you didn't have to worry about vehicles all that much. And then you had things like Markaz Monolith with the massive infantry only section of the skyscraper in the middle. That was a really good centre of attention for the map, and it made for an absolutely amazing arena for the scavenger game mode too. We also had Epic Center, which was perhaps the best map in the Aftermath DLC, well at least for me anyway. I really enjoyed that map. The way that the rupture of the earthquake runs through the middle of the map, making like a thoroughfare where you could run through the map unseen, was a really cool feature. And I also like the way that Rush seemed to actually work on all of these maps apart from Epicenter, which means you could really only play it on Conquest. But but my god did it work well. The flow of the map, the way you could move around without being seen, it was very rare that there was a lock point where you would get caught behind the enemy or the enemy would come up behind you. There was always a big flow to the map, and that's what I really liked about Epicenter. And finally, there was Tala Market, which was a complete and utter just annihilation. It was a brilliant team deathmatch map, and it was a brilliant conquest map as well, especially on Conquest Small where there are only 3 flags. I absolutely loved that map. You could get locked down very easily, but the flanking opportunities were so much because there were so many different avenues for you to take, meant that the gameplay was always flowing, it was always fresh. You never knew where the enemy were really going to come from. So with it being infantry focused as well, you didn't have to worry about somebody rolling through with a tank and ruining your fun. And this is why I think that the Dragon's Teeth DLC for Battlefield 4 is going to have a lot of similarities to Battlefield 3's Aftermath, simply because it was such a good DLC, there wasn't much wrong with it, that it was hard to pick out what was the worst part about it. For me, probably, it was mortars, where there were just areas of the map that you could reach that you really shouldn't have been able to reach with a mortar. Like the first set of MCOMs on Rush, if you were the defender, you could set up mortars on one side of the building and hammer them down into the enemy spawn, which really wasn't a very good design choice by DICE. That was probably the only thing I can think about in Aftermath that I didn't like, that I still remember now. And having gone back and played Aftermath again, as you can see in the background, I'm really excited for Dragon's Teeth. If it's anything like Aftermath, I think we're going to have a really good time. But we don't know anything about it at the moment. I kind of hope that it is along the lines of Aftermath, but again, I could be completely wrong. So I want you to let me know your opinions today, guys. Let me know down in the comments section if you think Dragon's Teeth is going to be like Aftermath, or what do you think Dragon's Teeth is actually going to be like. It'd be really good to get your comments today. But that is the end of the video, so thank you very much for watching today, guys. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit the like button, as it really does support me. And make sure, as I said, leave your comments down below. But until next time, my name is Westy, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.